When we first started out, I told Raquel the one cardinal rule of this nasty business we call show. There are 3 T's in entertainment: talent, teeth, and tits. Now, Raquel's only 6, so she's only fully developed in the talent department, but she's doing her best with the rest. Now, I don't want to overstate my case here, nor do I want to whine, but it must be said, it's not easy being a single mother. I mean, especially at my age. I was 19 when I had her. I've no family to speak of to lend a hand in raising her. And as far as being a single mommy, the gentleman in question seemed to think of his role largely in terms of anonymous sperm donation. The silence from that man is deafening, and to be fair, I'm not sure where he is. But what it comes down to is money, right? Drew Barrymore, Lindsay Lohan, Miley Cyrus. All child stars who entered the world of entertainment early and effectively gave their consent to a life no child should have to endure. Their parents traded their childhood for fame and fortune. But at what cost? Stephanie is an abusive mother, bound and determined to climb the showbiz ladder on the back of her 6-year-old daughter, Raquel. It seems Stephanie is the one who's willing to sacrifice everything. Can a child ever give their consent to be judged and treated as an adult? Age of Consent by Peter Morris. With some proper discipline and training, I could put Raquel's natural maturity and outgoingness to good use. So I made the decision. I quit my job to focus on Raquel's career. Although, as her agent and manager, it must be said, I'll always be working harder than she does. But you have no idea how energized I am. I am completely happy spending my days teaching Raquel to sing and dance. I finally feel like a mother with only minimum coaching for me. She's a natural. Raquel got casted as the littlest darling sibling in Peter Pan. A chill went over me as I stood in the wings. Raquel waited to enter. I didn't even smile as I leaned down and whispered, TNT, Raquel. She looks up at me and whispers, teeth and tits, Mom, teeth and tits. And so she grins and thrusts and enters, and all eyes are on her. Princess Raquel and I are currently not speaking. She'll come around. Anticipating their misbehavior is part of the training, so that way when it does occur, you just starve them into submission. I don't know what Princess R had to eat today, but there's no food in the house. I don't feel guilty. Give that girl an inch and she takes a mile. You could say she's spoiled, but if I have spoiled her, it's only because it's part of the training. See, I take Raquel to these places that are too la-di-da for her, so that way she acquires a taste for it, so that then she has to work harder for the rest of her life to satisfy that craving. She'll be a much more eager performer if she has to sing for her supper, essentially. But she's been so gloomy lately. I'd suspect it's overwork, only I maintain a far more punishing schedule than she does. I'm the one who's responsible for every appointment, every meet and greet, every audition that she ruins for us. We get into these little standoffs and it just feeds on itself and gets worse and worse because I will take her in for our first audition of the day and she'll already be in a bad mood. And she just ruins the audition and that makes me livid. Like today. Today was unforgivable, really. They're changing casts right in Les Mis, and I worked so hard to get that audition. And I told Raquel, I said, Raquel, I don't want there to be a dry seat in that audience when you're through. I want you to make them weep. And I gave her a Chinese bar and I pushed her on stage, and she was spellbinding. Little hairs on the back of my neck standing up, and I realized Raquel does honestly have what it takes. Until the last verse, when she actually started to cry, and it was a nice effect, but then she just stopped singing. It just evaporated. That magic, it's clear. She's not a pro. She's only 6, but if she can't do it now, when is she going to do it? I pulled her aside and said, Raquel, I can't have you calling me mommy in front of all these professionals. Stop letting me down and maybe I want to be your mommy, you spiteful little bitch. She says, fine, I don't want to call you mommy anymore. So I slapped her across the face and she fell over. She didn't even cry. Didn't even bat an eyelid. I am proving she has the nerve to steal because she's only 6. And her latest technique for domestic terrorism, wetting the bed. The only thing that runs through my mind is she doesn't even have hormones in her yet. I might need to put her down for the public good. So I've just stopped changing the sheets because as far as I'm concerned, little girls have made their bed to lie in. For the first time, I'm thinking it might be true. Our dreams might finally become a reality. Raquel and I have learned that there is a God and his name is Desmond Roddy. We were sitting in a park when a very distinguished older man came strolling up and started looking at Raquel. And she didn't even look her best now, that's star quality. He says, Madam, you have a beautiful daughter. And he reaches into the pocket of his business suit and extracts a card. Desmond Roddy, director, film and television. It might become true. Our dreams. He's a director, and before I even know it, he's casted Raquel as a leading role in a commercial. The first time we went to the studio, I had to fill out a whole sheaf of forms, and he was so attentive to Raquel. But then I came across a form that said, consent, as in parental consent. Imagine raising a child so well that they finally start becoming what you've always wanted. I had been so angry with Raquel with the talking back and the pissing, but now she's like a perfect dream of obedience. She doesn't even talk apart from her lines. It's like she finally understood what I always wanted. And Desmond, well, he's so attentive to Raquel. He said he'd very much like to keep her part of his stable, he put it. He said, you know I intend to keep using your daughter. Intended we keep the proper working relationship she and I now enjoy. So when we got home, I sat her down and I said, Raquel, I know you get it in your head to be Little Miss Contrary, but don't you dare. Desmond can make us rich. So he tells you to jump and you say, how high? The next commercial she was in, they flew us out to Tuscany. I flew business class and she sat in economy with Desmond. But that's all right. I said to him when we were on the terrace later that evening, I said, this is a country for romance. A passionate man like you, I know you feel it. And he said, passion is the air I breathe. And Raquel turned up and started looking at us that same way she has been these past few days, kind of accusatory. That morning they decided not to film for some reason. Desmond showed up with a little picnic basket in hand and said, where's Raquel? She was hiding, so we fetched her out and he said, little lady, I've come to invite you to a picnic. She seemed a bit reluctant and off they went. I watched them walk down to his car. Desmond holding the picnic basket, Raquel reaching up to clench his pinky finger. And I realized he's done so much. I know I'll never be able to forget this man, and Raquel won't either. As for now, you have no idea how nice it is to be alone. Thank you.